Hi! I'm Barb.
And I'm Alex.
And we're Enchanterium. In today's video, we'll be making Lili, a special Pride collaboration doll. We made gay and bi mermaids in May. Last time we made a trans boy. And this time we teamed up with a bunch of our doll friends to celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community by making dolls representing the colors of the Progress Pride flag. We hinted in our previous video that this doll would be inspired by a music video, and I can finally reveal that the MV in question is Montero, or Call Me By Your Name by Lil Nas X, and the color which we will be representing is red. Let's get into it.
As far as I know, there's no red skin doll in playlines that are easily available. The obvious choice is a Monster High line, as it has a very wide range of skin colors from light green to hot pink. First, I was considering Gigi Grant, as the pink skin could be easy to adjust to red, and I was also thinking about a Claudine doll, as she has black features which would be more true to Lil Nas's appearance. But then I found this Cleolai doll, which is a fusion between Cleo and Torelai, and she has a very warm orange, almost red skin, and that's perfect for this project. I wish this sculpt had features that are more associated with black people, and I hope I can add a little bit of that with makeup. Sometimes it's hard for us to use these colorful dolls, as they can represent more realistic characters without painting them on the whole surface. We try to use as many colors and sculpts as we can with fantasy dolls, and this is one of them. Although Lil Nas X's look in Call Me By Your Name is our main inspiration, this doll is not designed to be him. We want to take some themes, fashion, fantasy elements from the MV and arrange them in our own way, adding some of our ideas. To reroute her hair, I'm going to use red yarn in 2 shades. I'm taking each strand and unfolding it until I have 4 smaller strands. This is the hair texture you can achieve by this method, long and wavy. With my homemade rerouting tool, I'm plugging yarn one by one into the head, skipping some holes for less volume. And this is how it looks. I made 7 separate sections and tied the hair so we don't lose track of it. Yarn is not a very strong material when the strands are unfolded, and it's very easy to damage the length as the singular fibers are way shorter than the strand. This means this gorgeous voluminous hair needs protection.
I need to reorganize my disc a little bit before I can take on the hairstyling. The head was a little bit loose on the stick, so I used some sticky tack to help keep it in place for the styling, but honestly, it didn't do much. I will be braiding the hair, similarly to how Lil Nas has it in the hell scenes of the music video, and iconic look, by the way. I started with the middle section, and I will be doing a Dutch braid. I used a stick to divide the section at first, but it was easier to just try to separate them by hand. The yarn likes to kind of grab onto itself, and since it was long, it would clump up a little bit, but as I got more comfortable handling it, the braiding went quite smoothly. I usually only braid my own hair, so the process was a little weird at first, as I had to focus on moving my hands a little bit differently than what I'm used to. I tried to pull the braids quite tightly, and the moving head didn't really help with that. Since there was a lot of the hair, the first braid turned out quite bulky, so I tried again and made sure to thin the hair out a little bit, starting about halfway. I would simply pull on the yarn, and since it was unraveled, it would just break off. Then I would do a bit of braiding and then thin it out again. That way, they look a little bit more natural. I didn't have a plan for which braid I did first. I just picked up the backside one, then the front section after, and then moved on to the last side braid. The braids actually turned out quite stiff, so there's posing potential with them. And if we're ever to make a braided doll again in the future, I think I would part the hair a bit different. In my defense, the ears didn't help with this step, but I wanted to make a braided doll for a long time, so I'm happy we finally did one.
Let's leave the head for a moment and take care of her legs. Lil Nas is rocking high-heel leather boots when he's going to hell, and this is definitely one of those things we want to take from the music video. I have this concept in mind where she has high boots with a pair of wings. First, I'm drilling 3 holes on each side with a Dremel tool to make a place for future wire armature. I'm going to use some of the sculpted bandages on her body as a part of the new design, and this thigh bandage will make a good top part of a shoe. Using epoxy sculpt, I'm adding a smooth transition between the molding and her skin, and adding the same fabric wrinkle on the other leg. I also tried something that Hextion does on his dolls, which is sculpting a bit of loose material on the back of the knees. These soles are from Moonlight Jill's shoemaking ebook, and we initially printed them for Princess Atlantis, but decided to give them to this doll. As the boots are already sculpted directly on the doll, I'm just gluing the soles to the feet using 2-part epoxy glue. Then I'm applying epoxy again to make a solid shape and secure the sole. I'm trying to make it as smooth as possible and make the transition look seamless. I used leftover clay to cover the bandage sculpt on her calf and sanded with the Dremel tool for a thinner look. After sculpting and sanding, I'm gluing the wire armature for wings into the holes. To make sure the wire will stick where I want, I decided to reinforce its base with clay. Now we can finally see the boots in one cohesive color, and that always looks so satisfying. At first I wanted them all black, but I know she will have some other black parts in her design, and this is not our color in this collab, so we need more red. I made a fade from red to black and added a red bottom. The other bandage sculpting I want to use is this sculpted top. I'm painting it red, emphasizing shadows and highlights with different shades. A quick drill with a linocut tool on her back for the wings, and we can move on to changing her skin color for red. I'm using chalk pastels, pinkish red mica powder from Arteza, and some Pearlix powders for shine. Recently I started to appreciate putting the head back onto the body before doing the face. I still think it's more comfortable painting the face when it's separated, but it's also much more stressful to risk that your perfect new face that you've worked on for hours can be damaged by squeezing. This time it was easy, but not every doll has a soft vinyl like that.
The clothes for this doll will be quite minimal, just like the spare time I currently have. While you're watching this, I just had my last exam yesterday and my thesis defense is on Monday, so please keep your fingers crossed for me. I'll be using a modified pattern from Requiem Art's design for the shorts, and I'll be making them from my old leather pants that I've worn probably around 5 years ago when I was still in high school, because they don't fit me anymore. I've glued the fake pockets onto the front pieces, and now I have to top stitch them down. Sewing with leather is a nightmare, and I don't know why I keep doing it to myself. I tested the fabric on my regular foot, on a Teflon foot, and this weird foot with a roller, but the only thing that didn't rip the leather to shreds was my walking foot. After attaching the pockets, I sewn the backs to their respective fronts. I top stitched the seam allowance for detail and for a flatter finish. I decided to glue on 2 small back pockets and then sew the front rise together. I wanted to add a waistband for more detail, so I stitched the waistband pieces together, but to reduce bulk, I attached the band wrong side to the right side. Since I didn't want to poke holes in the fabric with pins, I tacked the waistband to the pants with some glue first, then top stitched the seam like I did with the pockets. The back can now be closed up and the inseam sewn together. After trying to be funny, we can fit the shorts on the doll. I marked the length I wanted the shorts to be and trimmed them down, and added some Velcro at the back. After being fed up with leather, I decided not to put myself through more pain and make the shirt out of black cotton. I am again using a Requiem Arts pattern for this. The shirt is pretty straightforward. First go the shoulder seams, followed by a simple stand collar. Next is hemming and setting in the sleeves. When that's done, we can close up the side seam and flip the shirt to the right side for a fitting. Yet again inspired by Lil Nas X and his performance on SNL during which he rips his pants by dancing, I will try to match the super cropped hemline he wore on stage. With a chalk pencil, I mark where the hem needs to be, and while I'm at it, I mark the back closure. I folded the hem along the drawn line and tried to sew this on the machine, but decided to quickly hand stitch the hem instead. It was annoying, as always, but I wasn't confident about sewing this curved line on the machine cleanly. I freight checked one of the back edges and hemmed the other one to prepare for my recent favorite method of closure, the bead and loop thing. While it does require the dreaded hand sewing, it is very fancy looking, and I like that. For the loops, I'm using a shirring elastic, and for the buttons, I dug out these translucent beads with a black core. Putting the shirt on requires a bit of fiddling with tweezers, but it is absolutely worth the final look. The hem at the back didn't turn out too straight, but isn't that the point of June?
After protecting her hair with a piece of cloth and rainbow pins, and spraying the head with 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear Sealant, I start her face. I'm using watercolor pencils to sketch the shape of the eyes and lips. I love the color of this doll, but the face mold is not exactly what I want. Cleoli's eyes are very big and lips are tiny, and as I said at the beginning, I want her to have a bit more of a black heritage. I want her lips fuller and nose a bit wider. The first attempt looked like a very tasteless caricature, so I tried a more balanced look with black pencil. I want her expression to resemble the last shot in the music video when Lil Nas takes the devil horns, reveals the wings, and does a little ooh. I decided to give her a cat nose as we're going to keep her cat ears. I feel the need to explain my designing process. The main concept for this doll is to make a sexy and confident woman who is not afraid to be herself no matter what people say. I think this is the main point of the Call Me By Your Name MV. We live in a white, post-communistic, conservative religious country where LGBTQIA+ people are often said to be sinners for who they are. Seeing a very popular gay musician doing a pole dance from heaven to hell, giving Satan a lap dance, and taking his throne is a bold manifest. He's practically saying, if I'm gonna go to hell anyway, I'll be the best at it. And I want this doll to portray this statement. We can't forget that Pride originally started as a riot, and this riot is still needed in many places of the world today. Her eyes are very simple as they don't have irises or pupils, so to make the face more interesting, I'm giving her a face tattoo and stylized baby hairs. I'm adding small details like waterline and lashes with acrylic paint. I didn't like how the top lashes turned out, so I painted over them with silver and red paint to give her a glossy eyeshadow and a graphic eyeliner. I tried to make some catch lights, but decided that simple silver eyes are my favorite look on her. A few details on the brows and 2 layers of the most sparkly Pearlex powder I own, and the face is ready. Coming back to the boots, I'm going to make them shine using UV resin. After 2 coats from both sides, they look like this and I'm living for it. Alcohol markers are better at staying in place than paint, so the moving parts of the joints are going to be painted with this method. We don't trust rubber bands as they tend to break after a while. It happened to our dolls in the past, and I prefer to use wire for tying the doll's hair. To reduce the fluffiness of the ends, I'm applying water mixed with a bit of glue. I'm going to decorate the blouse using leftovers from cutting heat transfer glitter vinyl in red, orange and yellow. I cut tiny leaf shapes and glue them on the sleeves. I want to create a chaotic flame-like design, something similar to this look. My first thought was to make only one sleeve and a small sparkly detail on one leg, but I like it so much that I couldn't resist adding the same design to the other side as well. It makes the doll more red and less black, which in this case is what we want. The doll has this white glove sculpted, which I quite like. I'm painting the fabric part with red and the studs with gold acrylic paint, adding a bit of gloss varnish on top. There's one feature of Cleoli that makes her an even better candidate for this project than I initially thought, and it's her nails. One hand has short nails and on the other the nails are long. Our doll might be a pole dancer in the hottest gay club in hell, but in her free time she's a left-handed classical guitar player. There's a scene at the beginning of the MV where Lil Nas is playing guitar, so it's perfect. And guess who was attending music school for 8 years as a kid playing classical guitar and had to have this kind of claws on one hand? I still play sometimes, and that's why I keep my nails this way. When I was 12, I would have been super happy to have a beautiful doll with the same feature as me, and weird nails are just a small detail. That's why I think gay, black, Asian, trans, disabled, and actually all the kids deserve a proper representation in toys, and I'm glad that nowadays toy companies are finally giving us variety. Let's make the wings. At first, I wanted to use the same technique as for our Hawks doll, which means using a lot of craft foam and a bit of feathers. It's a good way to do more anime or cartoon looking wings, but I don't know if it fits here. So I'm going to try mixing my way of making wings with doll motions technique that she used on her Divos and Pokemon bird dolls. I'm taking these decorative feathers and trimming all the fluffy parts. Then I'm cutting a small feather shape out of a big feather shape. This is a very time-consuming process, but with a good audiobook or anime it wasn't that bad. I'm using black and 2 shades of red. The base is made out of 2 layers of craft foam and a wire in between. Then it's time to glue tiny feathers. I'm using white glue that is flexible because I want the wings to have a bit of movement as well. It dries slowly, but I think it's worth waiting. This part also took me a lot of time. I think it was 3 working days to cut all the feathers and glue them on both sides. To cover the top I'm using fluffy feathers, and this time I need something that dries fast, which means using my best friend, the glue gun. I also made smaller wings. I had planned to place them on her head, but it looked better on the drawing than in real life. Let's come back to the boots area. Using craft foam, I'm making the base for the wings and gluing the feathers just like before. I'm so pleased with how the boots turned out. They are so shiny and beautiful. I personally wouldn't wear them, but I appreciate the look. As a last decoration, I'm gluing silver and red rhinestones on the feathers. I thought it can add a beautiful sparkle after I saw Lil Nas rocking brown rhinestones on his face at the beginning of the music video. I know that Pride Month is almost over, but if you want to show your support for LGBTQIA+ people, I want to encourage you not to buy rainbow merch from big companies, but from independent queer artists. I recently fell in love with these pride dinosaurs that my friend made in the form of temporary tattoos, and I wanted to show them to you because they are gay and beautiful.
This is how she turned out. We wanted to call her Lili, but call her what you want, call her what you need, call her by your name, she'll be on the way like call her by your name. Her name is Lili, but you can call her by your name. Please subscribe to this channel. I'm really happy with how all the details turned out on her, especially the braids and shoes. Being very faithful to the original, Lili's pants also ripped during one of the photo shoots. Remember, this video is a part of a big doll collaboration. Make sure you visit His Name is Akin, Jackie O, H. Ali Crafts, Dollinks, Hextian, The Dolly Geek, Kira's Workshop, Stitchwick Creations, and Valkyrie's World.
This video's question is...
Why are you gay?
Just kidding. There's no real question this time. Happy Pride! Stay awesome, be who you want to be, and love who you want to love.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram for some sneak peeks and subscribe for future videos. Have an enchanted day, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
She's a left-handed classical guitar player.
Left-handed.
I'm so pleased with how the boots turned out. They so
They so shiny.
They so shiny and beautiful.
But to reduce bulk, reduce, reuse, ikiki.